Since the recent Season 3 update for Test Drive Unlimited Solar Crown, I have actually been playing the game a bit more again and enjoying some of the new content, as well as completing some things I hadn't previously done, because I have now reached level 55 and therefore unlocked the longer, higher paying Crown Jewels races, so I've been completing those, as well as completing more delivery missions. They did also add some point-to-point races where you had to navigate without a map, but I found those a lot less interesting, to be honest, so I've kind of ignored them apart from the one I looked at in the initial video on Season 3. I have though completed many more delivery missions and even repeated some of them. I'll quickly go over my experience of those and then we'll get on to the Crown Jewels races. I think I've attempted to deliver around 18 different vehicles, and that's nowhere near all of the available missions. Some of them are more rare than others, they don't show up as often as others. They do show up in the map again even after you've completed them, which I think is supposed to happen. However, they also show as new even after they've been completed. I don't think that's just because they've disappeared and come back. I don't think they should show as new if you have previously done them. And when I redid one that I had already completed, I received a first completion bonus again, which is fine, I suppose. I kind of want money in this game because cars are very expensive, and there have been a few other issues with some particular cars though. The most annoying of which is a recurring problem with the Lamborghini Diablo delivery mission, where the space you're required to park it in will often contain an Abarth, which means the only way to complete the mission is to push it out of the space, which of course damages the Lamborghini you're supposed to be delivering and reduces the payout, which can be a bit of a pain. There's another one with a Ferrari 812, which also gets slight damage when you go through a gateway that you have to go to get to the final drop-off, and for whatever reason I cannot seem to complete the 911R mission without either hitting an invisible car or slightly brushing some leaves, which of course causes massive, irreparable damage. Although it may seem like I've just complained a lot about these new missions, other than these slight annoyances, the delivery missions have actually been a lot of fun, and I noticed later on as well that each one has a little backstory in its description that I hadn't previously read, but it makes them that much more kind of realistic and interesting, and feels like there's a point behind what you're doing. A couple of them also have some little surprises hidden within them that I'm not sure if they meant to put in there or not. For example, at the end of the E-Type mission, there's a convertible Bentley Continental parked at the drop-off, which is not currently in the game, we only have the coupe. It would be great to see that added at some point in the future. I think that's the only car that's given away in there, but there is also a Mercedes AMG GT Black Series shown in a thumbnail image for an event, which, much like the Bentley, isn't currently in the game, so hopefully we see both of these added soon. Anyway, those out of the way, let's get on to the Crown Jewels races. The first one I completed was the NAPRA event. This is the shortest Crown Jewels race in the game, at just over 10 miles. It's an all-tarmac route and is restricted to Bugattis, Lamborghinis and Porsches between 750 to 950 PR. I went for my Aventador for this one, which ended up being the only supercar category vehicle in the race, with the rest of the grid full of hypercars. In the rain, none of the Bugattis dared go flat out for some reason. The 918 provided me with some competition, but once I was past him, he kind of gave up and I ended up winning by miles. The first race took just over 4 minutes, and in solo mode with the difficulty set to intermediate, because I hadn't adjusted it at this point, it earned me just over 30,000 credits. The next Crown Jewels race that I attempted was Amethyst, which was slightly longer at 13.5 miles, restricted to Ford, Mercedes and Nissan, with my only eligible car being a stock 2006 Ford GT, which I used, as well as upping the difficulty to maximum, which was potentially foolish given I was in quite such a slow car. So I ended up pushing it too hard, crashing a few times, and making a lot of use of the new quick restart option. There were a number of places that I had to take shortcuts to, which did help me, and also the fact that the AI sometimes just slowed down and let you past for no reason at all, or ran into the scenery in the central reservations. They did also ram me quite a lot though, which didn't help, and eventually, although I successfully finished the race, I ended up in second. So yeah, but with the difficulty set to expert, giving a 40% bonus, this race had earned me just over 60,000 credits. I did though come back later, once again attempting the Ford GT, which again didn't go well, so I gave up pretty quickly and went to buy a Nissan GTR, of course taking it straight to the upgrade shop to completely max it out, applying every possible upgrade I could, as well as of course giving it the mandatory Nissan GTR visual mods, particularly a chrome wrap, but also black wheels, tinted windows, and some custom number plates, which all cost far more than I probably should have spent to complete this race. But anyway, I then took it into the race. I did have to downgrade it again slightly to get it in, but it still absolutely destroyed the opposition, even on the hardest difficulty, and somehow this win earned me 100,000 credits, which is nice because the car cost well over 10 times that, including upgrades. I then moved on to the Jade race, using my Aston Martin Vulcan, which started surprisingly well, considering I was again on maximum difficulty, and significantly below the performance class that was allowed. I did get overtaken by a Ferrari FXXK, who was ahead of me for most of the twistier parts of the route where I was chasing him down, and I did eventually get past him, but I then proceeded to spin on a curb almost immediately and had to catch up all over again. I did gain pretty much back up to him, but then I got pixeled by a couple of walls and lost not only what I had gained, but pretty much fell to the back, eventually finishing the race in 5th, which was slightly irritating given this race had taken about 15 minutes. I then of course gave it another go, this time opting for the much faster modified Lamborghini Huracan that I have in the garage, which went much better. A Bugatti did overtake at the beginning, but then braked for no reason, which the AI seemed to do quite a lot, letting me back past. The same thing happened with an Apollo in the twisty section, went past, braked, let me back through, and the Bugatti did also overtake again a couple of times throughout the race, once having a spectacular impact with a barrier shortly after overtaking me and then letting me back through, and then again on the long final straight section he went past and for some reason braked again to let me back through, and well, that meant I could win the race. This time it had taken under 13 minutes and earned me over 80,000 credits for the win in the Lamborghini. The next one I attempted was the Amber race, the first off-road one of these longer events, and by far the longest race I've completed so far. For this one I went for my Range Rover, although it was a very boring race. I got into the lead straight away and never saw the opposition again, despite still being on the hardest difficulty, and eventually won by over 2 minutes. The race took about 25 minutes in total, and earned me nearly 150,000 for a win against Expert AI, including the first completion bonus. The XP was more than I expected too. I'm not sure exactly how much, but the bar seemed to fill up from being just into level 56 to being almost at level 57, which isn't too bad going. Then with 2 events left, I went for the longest one, Ruby, a nearly 70-mile sprint around the twistier roads of Hong Kong Island. For this I went for my Aventador, having to downgrade it to Enter, which started not too badly, but then I managed to go off and flip the car over several times on a rock, dropping me several positions. For some reason I didn't give up after this though, and quickly got back up to 2nd place. I couldn't though get anywhere near winning, with another Aventador nearly a minute ahead of me by the end of the race. Anyway, after nearly 45 minutes, I finished 2nd, and again this was on expert difficulty, giving a humongous overall reward of 226,000 credits. I did then start an attempt in the Nissan GTR, but this also required downgrading, at which point it once again became clear that I wouldn't be able to keep up with the leading car, so at 7 minutes into the race I abandoned it. I may come back to this one at some point, but it proved the most difficult out of all of them, because it seemed like you had to downgrade your car, at which point it wasn't really fast enough to keep up with the leader unless you pushed it too hard, at which point you crashed. The difficulty across these events seems very inconsistent. Some of them were super easy, like that off-road one in the Range Rover, but for whatever reason this one seems to be particularly tough. After that, only Sapphire was remaining, a mixed surface race again, but with a high class limit, which meant you needed a fast road car really to compete. I once again went for the Nissan GTR, which ended up being an excellent choice, although I kind of wish I'd paid more attention to how much of the race was on gravel and invested in some off-road tyres, because without them I could only really get to about 30 miles per hour on the dirt sections, because there was just no grip at all. Despite this, I ended up winning the race by roughly a minute and a half, even having plenty of time to slow down and let a barrier open for me to get to the finish line. With so much of the route off-road and slow, this one took around 20 minutes, and winning against Expert AI with the first completion bonus, this earned me 127,000 credits, meaning that despite purchasing the GTR, after completing all of these races, I now have over 6 million credits, which I'm hoping will mean I can afford the Aston Martin Valor when it finally comes to the showroom in a couple of updates' time. That though is going to do it for today's video on Test Drive Unlimited Solar Crown, completing some more of the brand new car delivery missions, as well as going and completing all of the Crown Jewels races. Just got one left that I potentially need to reattempt to try and win, but that is the 45-minute one, unfortunately. Anyway, as ever, do let me know your thoughts on Test Drive Unlimited Solar Crown. Are you still playing? Have you returned now that these new missions have come to the game? Have you completed the Crown Jewels races yet? For now, though, that is going to be all, so thank you very much for watching, and I will be back with the next one very soon.